Hi there, I'm Shelly, a nutrition mindset coach and dietitian. And today I wanted to talk a little bit about how all foods can fit. You can have no off-limit foods and still be healthy, and how this can work for you. So quick disclaimer, anytime we're talking about health, people like to have disclaimers. So mine is that this is educational. This is explaining this concept. It's not intended to treat or prevent or manage a disease. While nutrition can do that, this is not what this video is for. Okay? So really, how can this work? How can all foods fit? How do all foods fit and you can still be healthy? That doesn't seem to make sense with what we know. And here's the big key. The big key is you need unconditional permission to eat all foods with attunement. Okay, and that's really big. It sounds super simple. It's actually really complex. It's actually really big, and it's kind of hard to do, especially given the environment that we're living in. And so I'll be kind of unpacking and introducing those things in this video. There's obviously a lot more than what I can cover in a short video. So if you're interested in more, feel free to reach out. But that is the biggest key, is this unconditional permission to eat all food with attunement. Okay, so what does that mean? Unconditional permission to eat means that, one, you're eating enough food. You're eating enough food not just so that you're not hungry, but that you have a satisfied feeling. You're eating to a satisfied level of fullness that is based on the internal cues of your body, not based on how many calories something has, or what else you've eaten that day, or what you haven't eaten, or what you will eat. What somebody else says is a right amount or whatever, right? It's based on your body and you knowing that. So sometimes people may not know that, and we can talk about that more later, but just as far as what it is, this is one of the big pieces of it, right? You can eat however much is needed in that moment to make your body satisfied. You can also eat any food you want, and that means that there are no good and bad foods. One food won't instantly make you healthy or unhealthy, that you as a person are not worth any more or any less based on your food choices or the way you choose to eat, and that you don't have to make up for foods that you eat. And some of these sound really controversial, and maybe you stopped watching, I don't know, but it's really unconditional permission to eat. Like, food is a basic human right. And if we're denying ourselves that food, we're putting restrictions on our body and on ourselves and on our minds that will affect the way that we interact with our food, right? Will affect the way that we approach different foods. So a lot of times we're really good at giving ourselves halfway permission. I can eat whatever I want on my cheat days. I can eat whatever I want on the weekends or when I'm out with friends, or I can eat whatever I want because it's vacation and calories don't count on vacation, or it's between 4 and 6 p.m. on every other Friday or something like that. I mean, it's really ridiculous, the things that we can come up with, and some of those are more obvious and some of them are not as obvious. Like, we might say, oh, I can eat this because I've been good all day, or I can eat this because I'm about to go work out, or I just worked out. And that's earning your food, right? You don't have to earn your food. Food is a right. You have the right to be able to eat food. So anything that gives you only temporary permission to indulge, or that feeling like you are indulging, because it's not an indulgence, it's your food, right? If we're making all these things emotionally equivalent, all of your food emotionally equivalent, meaning, yes, there are different nutrients, and we can talk about that in a second, but emotionally, these foods, the goal is to have them emotionally equivalent. And then that doesn't lead to any feelings that you have to do better in the future, right? So you could have a temporary feeling, yes, this is my choice, I am making my choice, this is what I want to eat right now, and I can fit it in my diet. And then as you're eating, maybe that guilt starts to come up and you're like, oh yeah, okay, well, I'll do better next time. That is a key. That's like a warning sign that you haven't quite let go of that dieting mentality, that your brain is still on that diet, even though maybe your tongue is not right now. And this is a process, right? This is a big, long process. It doesn't happen overnight. And I'm not trying to say like you have to snap your fingers and expect that this will be instantly okay. But this is really the key that we're talking about when we're saying all food fits. We're saying that if you have unconditional permission to eat with attunement, I'll touch on that in a second, with attunement, then all foods can fit. And the goal is to move people toward that. So as I'm working with my clients, for example, I'm moving people toward this ability to eat unconditionally, right? To eat with attunement, to know that all foods can fit, and to find out what that means for them specifically. So there is a trap, because it sounds like, I'm saying, oh, you can eat whatever you want, whenever you want, however much you want. You could, that's your personal choice. It's not what I'm talking about here, but you could do that, right? So what I'm actually talking about, because there's a difference between, and this is what I want to lay out, is the tongue is not the only important part of your body, right? You have unconditional permission to eat anything you want with attunement. And with attunement means that your tongue, your stomach, your body, and your mind, like your desires, all of that is in alignment with each other. You are saying that I'm paying attention to these things before, during, and after I'm eating to see how it's affecting me and how I'm feeling. Do I have more energy? Is it giving me a stomach ache? Do I feel really tired? Do I just say you had food allergies, right? Food allergies may make something off limits, but really the connection there is, it's not off limits for some arbitrary rule. It's a connection between how you feel in your body, that felt experience, and eating the food, right? So you're making that choice not to eat it based on how you feel, based on the effect that it's going to have on your body. And that happens with a lot of different disease states as well. I know I'm not talking about that in this video, but that it is something that you can do even when you're having nutrition therapy to treat a disease. So, in this video, I want to talk a little bit more about how we can figure out what will be a choice that is in alignment with all of those things: our tongue, our stomach, our body. And for me, one of the most helpful questions that I find is, what is the most nourishing thing that I can do for me right now? What is the most nourishing thing that I can do for me right now? And that might be eating the specific food, right? It might be eating that food. It feels great. It tastes great. It's exactly what I wanted. And I stop when I'm full because I know that I can always get more, right? That's part of unconditional permission to eat, is that you know you can get more. So yes, all foods can fit. It's not like you're going to eat a ton of one food, because you can get more anytime. You don't have to eat it all right now. And if you don't have unconditional permission to eat, this is a temporary thing, then your body is going to want to try to eat it all right now. I will do another video explaining this in more detail about binging and how it all works with our biology, but just as a little preview, the more you restrict, the more you're likely to binge, the more you're likely to feel like you have to eat a whole ton, and you get this uncontrolled feeling around specific foods. You can try this unconditional permission to eat with foods that feel safer to start with. You don't have to try and jump in the deep end and go for all the scary foods. But eventually, I want to have you imagine a future for yourself that might be someplace where you realize that maybe someday in the future, when you've moved toward this direction of having this all foods fit and unconditional permission to eat with attunement, you realize that any food could be a safe food for you. You don't have this emotional attachment and burden and scariness of these foods. And so that's what I'm really hoping for you. I know it's not going to happen overnight, but that's what I wanted to touch on, is this idea, this concept of here's the end goal, here's the vision of what could be, and painting this better picture of a future tomorrow, right? That this might be you someday, and you can do things in the meantime to move you in that direction. So key, unconditional permission to eat all foods with attunement. Be careful of that trap. It's not the same thing as saying you can eat anything, anytime, as much as you want, because we are eating with attunement. So that means in alignment with our tongue, our stomach, and our bodies, how it's going to make us feel. And whether that's really something that we need right now, or it might be an emotional need, maybe it's not a physical need. But with that question of what might be the most nourishing thing for me right now, that is both physical and emotional. So if you find that it's something emotional, then maybe you don't do it with food. Maybe you do something else to take care of yourself. But if it is physical, we have research that shows that there are certain patterns of eating that are more helpful for certain things, right? For certain diseases, for feeling a certain way, for feeling the strongest in our bodies, for the best athletic performance, those kinds of things, right? We have different research that shows us these things. It does not mean that you need to jump into that right now. These are averages and guidelines. It doesn't mean you have to do this every day all the time. They're guidelines. So over the course of a week, say, it averages out that you might want to eat, choose certain things in this way. But it's more important to consider the balance, not just of the balance of the food you're eating, but in your approach. So if you are not at a place in your relationship with food where you can take nutrition guidelines, healthy guidelines, and just hold them kind of like as guidelines, relaxed, gentle guidelines, if you are holding tightly to them as like, this is the way it is and I have to eat this, or you feel that pull and that tension of like, these are more diet rules, then you're not ready for that right now. And really we need to focus then first on that relationship with food and how you're interacting with the things that you're eating and the reasons you're eating versus exactly what you're eating. Because there's evidence that shows that stress around what we eat may actually be more detrimental than the things that we eat. There's relationships between like having healthy connections with other people may be more important than the foods that we eat. There are things that might be more important than exactly what we eat. And that's coming from a dietitian, right? That's like, yes, I'm acknowledging that there might be things that are more important than the food. And that's part of having balance, right? You don't want a life that is just so controlled by what your next meal is going to be and planning all of that out. Like, I don't want that for you. I hope that that's not what you want. Like, you dare to dream bigger than that, that you want a life that you can be fully present in, not just something that you have to be controlled by food in your next food decision. There is really no magical food that is going to be, instantly making you healthier. It's a pattern over time that we don't want to create another set of diet rules. I want you to have a life of freedom and of being able to live fully in the things that you're choosing to do. So given all of that, like, I don't typically start people with, like, in my private practice, I don't start people with the gentle nutrition guidelines. I actually start them more about the relationship with food, because that's where it has to start. If our relationship with food is solid and healthy, then we can add in the nutrition guidelines and have it be in its right context, right? It's not pulled out so that it's so much more important than everything else. And it's really tricky, right? This whole thing, the unconditional permission to eat, eating with attunement, keeping diet away, keeping the guidelines in the right context, all of that is really tricky when we have a world that says we need to be on a diet, we need to be skinny, we need to eat a certain way. And if you are interested in what I'm talking about here, if you are either already moving this direction or if you're interested in moving this direction, you're going to need some strong boundaries. You're going to need walls. And the reason for this is because the world with all its diet messages is going to push and push and push. And you need something to be able to push back. So as you build those walls around you to push back, you can get support, you can get resources. There are resources like other people, right? So I'm a certified intuitive eating counselor, I'm a dietitian. Myself, other people who are certified intuitive eating counselors, or at least a Health at Every Size or HAZE practitioners, they can help you in building up those walls and helping equip you with the tools that you need to do this for yourself and to build those walls so that you can stand firm against all these things that are coming in. There's also resources like the Intuitive Eating book by Tribble and Resch. I don't have it right in front of me, so I can't show you, but it's called Intuitive Eating. And so there's that. There's also a workbook for that. Those are both great resources for you. And then you can have other people who are on this journey with you, right? Different people, your peers that are doing this with you, who are exploring with you. But the idea is to have somebody there to help you kind of like hold those walls up while you build them yourself, right? To help give you some like touch points where you can be like, hey, these walls are crushing in. I just need a little bit of encouragement to push them back out, to give you some of that support that you need, because it is against the flow, right? Like everyone else is saying, do this, like you aren't enough. And what intuitive eating and what Health at Every Size says is, hey, wait, you have wisdom in your body. You have these experiences that you can learn to connect with. You can learn to hear. You can train your body back. If you've lost those signals, you can train them to come back. You can figure this out, and it's going to be a process. And during that process, you know, it's helpful to have that support. So if you do want support, if you want support from me, or if you want to see if it would be a good fit to work with me, I have a Christmas special right now, and it's only good until the end of December 31st. So if you're interested, I will put a link in the description and in the comments, and you can go and check that out, check out the information, and see whether you want to connect with me and get a free conversation about whether this is going to be a good fit for you and your needs right now. It's the best deal that I have right now. It's a full year of support if you include the bonuses, and this is a very incredible deal. And so, like, imagine, you know, 2019, you have your entire year full of support around doing this. All foods fit, you know, body positive, body, like all bodies fit as well. It doesn't necessarily mean that you're going to stay the same size. It just means that, you know, we're going to talk about how to support your here and now body and whatever natural body you end up with. So I want to support you in this. If I'm just excited that you are even watching this video. If you are interested in this video, then you might be interested in connecting with me, taking the next step, seeing at least what might be, again, like I said, that the vision of the future tomorrow, right? Seeing that you might be able to have this freedom, and I want to help you get there if I can, right? And if I can't, then I want to help point you in the right direction into some other support and resources. So go ahead and check out that information, book a call with me, see what might be for your future, and dare to dream that you might have something in the future in 2019 that could work for you. So I will put those in the comments in the description. Be sure to check that out. And until next week and next video, I am Shelly, Nutrition Mindset Coach, helping you to live freely and fully. I'll see you later.